So if you work in care home environments, you're going to almost certainly be working with people with dementia. And activities in dementia is a subject area in its own right. But I'm just going to put something into context for reminiscence for you, maybe to help you thinking. There's lots of models of dementia, but the one thing they all have in common is they show a progression. And in simple language, it means that the condition starts and it progressively gets worse over a period of time. The way that the dementia will progress will depend on the type of dementia the person has, or dementias, so you can have a mixed dementia going on. So you're going to have a sort of pre-diagnosis stage, which is very much similar to age-related memory loss. So when we spoke about all the reminiscence stuff and all the tools, they work really well with all the people in that stage. You just got to pick out the right tools for the right individual. The reflective stage would be someone who presents well for about 20 minutes. So if a family member came in and met them, they wouldn't really know what the person was doing in the unit. But if you spend an extended period of time with them, you start to realise that they sort of repeat themselves in the loop after a period of time. So generally that person will dress appropriately, make sense in pretty well when they're talking to you, talk well, and they can form relationships. They will be able to make everyday choices for themselves. It's the more complex things that they start to get a little bit lost on. Then you've got the next sort of stage along, which is they call it a symbolic stage. So the symbolic stage is the person basically lives in the past. And if you talk to them as if they are in the past, you know, like the 1970s is the present moment, everything is absolutely fine. You can get them to reminisce and go back further, back into childhood and everything else, because the long-term memory is still intact. So they may be a little bit self-centered, and that's open to discussion. It's more about personality traits than anything else. The past is really important to them and the present not so much. They make sense of the present moment using the past or past long-term memories sort of painted over it to give meaning and sense to what's going on. Then we go into the fourth stage, which is sensory motor. So it's sort of marked up by, for me, the words are still there, but they're jumbled. There's no real sense to what's being said. I've got a very, very short attention span. So certainly a group session is not applicable to them. They do understand body language, so they can read what you're saying non-verbally fairly clearly. And what that means is if they're working with them and you show some sort of level of boredom or agitation, they'll pick up on that. The final stage is the reflex stage, which is really, to all intents and purposes, end of life. So that person will be in the fetal position. Communication abilities will be almost completely broken down. If you look at the reflex stage, your work there really isn't going to be very much contact based, as in physical contact, handling objects or whatever else. It might be some nice music in the background, smells, perhaps some fabrics on the skin, but that depends on how they react to that. So textures, but really, in all honesty, it's more about smell and comfort, music, ambience, for lack of a better word. Sensory motor, it's going to be very short interventions. Reminiscence as stands really isn't going to be happening. Doing the life history work, you might be able to get facts off the people around the person you're looking after, but other than that, they're fairly unable to contribute. If you're saying to me and you say, well, yeah, ours can, they're not in the sensory motor stage, they're a little bit further back. So it's very hard for me to define the stages without actually seeing the person for you, but these are slightly wooden, but they allow you to get an overview of what's going on.